single, Red-Blooded Woman. Welcome, please, Kylie Mingoue.
It's too hot inside. You never get to heaven if you're scared of getting high. Oh, oh, freaking around. Freaking around. Boy, boy, let me keep freaking around. I wanna get down. Out of that woman, what's the point in hanging around? I wanna keep turning it down when this girl wants to rock with you. Boy, boy, let me keep freaking around. I wanna get down. Out of that woman, what's the point in hanging around? I wanna keep turning it down. This girl wants to rock with me. So break it down.
You are fabulous. You are fabulous, yes. And congratulations on the Grammy.
Thank you.
My word, eh?
Yeah.
And America, too. I mean, let's take you to their hearts. When you go there, do you get a bit of space there, though? I mean, you have a different regard for you, I suppose, than they do here.
Do you know what? I haven't really had the time there to experience that. In the last couple of years since the success of Fever, I've just been on promo trips, so
Yeah.
it's just go, 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 leave. But nice reception. People have been welcoming and enthusiastic.
But here, of course, I mean, you live a life in a bubble, don't you, really?
Sometimes.
Not
Not all the time.
Do
I
you
mean,
know-
there's times when it's really difficult and you just like, oh, I just want to go down and, you know, go and get the loaf of bread and
Yeah.
milk and all that. But then
I
it's
can't imagine you going for a loaf of bread. Kylie with a
I
mother's
do
pride
go down
under
to
her
my
arm.
local, down to the milk bar, as we'd say in Australia. And then, surprisingly, sometimes it's beautifully quiet.
Do you ever try disguise?
I have tried a disguise once, and it was such a mammoth failure. It was really embarrassing.
What was the disguise?
I went to, this is going back probably almost 10 years. I went to the Notting Hill Carnival, and I had this long black wig on and a baseball cap. And people just said, oh, there's Kylie Mingoue in a black wig. Just so not what I had planned. And I've realised that now with the public in the UK. We've known each other for such a long time. They know my size, my walk. I mean, they recognise, you can literally have a hat, scarf up to here, and people still say hi.
Do you recognise that person that the tabloid press write about?
Sometimes, yeah.
When don't you?
Well, when they're marvellously fabricated stories that I have this fabulous life. I mean, part of my life is fabulous, and it is glitz and glamour and all these amazing, sometimes absurd experiences, but not to that extreme, when it's constantly two-dimensional and is a soundbite version of what could be your life.
You described yourself, you've been described as an icon, and a quote that caught my eye was that you said, well, if I'm an icon, I'm a watery icon. I mean, what did that mean exactly?
I did say that, and you know what? I don't really know what I meant. I just said it.
It's just a good line.
What
Jess,
have you
isn't it?
said?
Yeah.
No, because I'm asked often about being an icon, and particularly being a gay icon, and I guess I start to feel uncomfortable with that. I guess it's a compliment, and I don't really know what to do with it. So
Well, it defines a kind of fame, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's what it does.
But fame can be fleeting, and it is.
Well, it's not in your case. I mean, you've been now, what, 17 years?
17 years.
I mean, it's a long time, that. I mean, we've seen you grow up, haven't we?
Yeah.
But what about the clever thing, too, is that you kept reinventing yourself as you went along. You kept sort of up with the fashions and creating your own fashions now. But you're 35 now, so what's the mature Kylie? I mean, are we covering up a bit now, are we? Or what?
We are.
We are.
Yeah.
We're going to go fully clothed, are we now?
Well, I'm not going to be in ski suits or anything like that. But.
Or yellow pants, or...
Yeah. You mean gold pants?
Not gold ones, all right.
Is that what you mean, gold
Yeah, I
pants?
do.
I think I did that, and I don't regret doing any of it at all. And I'm always very conscious of where the line is. And the line indeed keeps moving. But when I came to do the video for the first single from this album, I hadn't seen any videos in a while. So I watched the TV, went through the music stations, and I have to admit, I was a little bit shocked, and I just thought, oh, I'm not going to go any further down that road. It just doesn't suit me at the moment. But, flesh is really, it's not that different these days. It's everywhere.
I mean, all over the place.
Following me.
I am following you. Yeah.
He's still thinking about gold hot pants.
Yes.
Now, what about the last time you came on the programme, I talked to people always do about your relationships, and you've got a new fella now. You're a Frenchman. Are Frenchmen better than English guys or Australian guys?
How could I possibly say that on
Well, I mean,
the show?
I don't know. But no,
well-
a serious question. I mean, there's a different culture, of course, involved. You spend some time in France.
Yeah, and that makes it very interesting. You can do very mundane, ordinary things, and it's the way I view him doing something normal, or he would see me doing something normal, is suddenly quite exotic or amusing or frustrating. It can be both things. So there's definitely that part to our relationship, but I couldn't possibly say that French are better or worse, but he is wonderful. Yeah.
Does he have a sexy French accent? Does he speak like that?
Yeah.
No, he's Welsh, Michael.
Oh, sorry. I wish I could do
So
accents.
it's just the whole thing's a sham. He's got I guess it's mainly French, but Spanish as well.
Yeah. And what about, the last time we talked about getting married, you said you want to get married. But would you want to get married? I mean, as opposed to living together, like your mum and dad, would you want that kind of commitment?
Well, I often, and for quite a number of years, I've looked at my parents, and they're still together, they're still in love, they miss each other madly, they hold hands and canoodle, and they're just the best example for me. And it slightly pains me to think that I will never have that. My chance for that has already gone.
Why?
Because I'm 35. They did that when they were 22. So to start a family that young and to be together for such a long time. So I've come to terms with that, but I would still like definitely to have something secure and wonderful. And I even when girlfriends speak to me and they're in serious relationships, married, with children, and I I say, well, that must be great, but I really, until I experience that myself, I won't know. I know it will be the best thing I've ever done.
Well,
having a family.
children, this includes children, yeah. But it's leaving a bit late, aren't you? 35?
I'm aware of this, Michael.
My mother was 47 when she had me. Yeah, she didn't even know she was pregnant. Seriously.
Was not... See, Parky does this. He cuts to the chase in the nicest way.
I know.
Like you just.
I do.
Was not too late, but obviously a woman of my age can't help but think about those things.
Of
And
course.
I'm asked about it all the time, and I never have really a straight answer for anyone who asks me that, because I don't know yet. We'll see if and when it happens.
Well, I mean, if you looked at it from another, I mean, that's the what you've just talked about is one of the
Yeah.
sacrifices you made for your career. And the other thing, too, that was been interesting, I mean, you had, since last we met, the reports you were having a breakdown as well. What was the truth of that?
That was a long time ago, I think. It's probably one of many, by the way, reported many.
Yes.
But I did, after Fever, I escaped on a road trip with my parents, poor mum and dad, trying to get away on this road trip with another couple of their friends. And I call up at the last minute saying, just don't want you to panic, but could I come on your holiday with you? So it was the best thing. I went straight to Australia, did this 10-day road trip from Broome on the far northwest of Australia.
Right on the top.
Red dirt, nothing, staying in these kind of dingy places.
Yeah.
And sometimes I had to have my meal slipped under the door because we just didn't want anyone to know I was there. It was kind of like a sport to try and find me at that time. But I slept in these rooms with my mum and dad. Mum and I have matching pyjamas on. And I just thought, this is incredible to be, what was I then, 33, on a road trip with my mum and dad and to be that close with them. And they're just always there.
Yes.
And I think that is the most important thing and the most supportive thing I have in my life and my career is them.
Now listen, what's this?
Don't you recognise her?
It's a Kylie doll.
Yeah, actually she's in her little performance costume there.
So, I mean, you often were called a Barbie doll, a walking Barbie doll. So you got your own Kylie doll now.
Yeah, finally, after all this time.
Why do you have to wait so long?
I don't know. Actually, I kind of do know.
What?
I just thought, oh God, if you get a doll, that's so
They had
embarrassing.
little
That's going to be
savage
the
dolls,
end.
you know.
Do they?
Well, they
Did
were
they?
6 foot, but you bought them in certain shops. I wouldn't go
We could give her a good Louis
Diploma.
Savage.
She's fabulous, look at her.
Give her a
She
bit-
is a bit. Clip
Yeah.
that up. Back
Bit of-
home.
bit of a
There's
back
the
comb,
roots.
yeah.
And listen, I'm only going to ask you this because I know you design your own sort of underwear now, your own line of
I have a
underwear.
line of lingerie.
Your ladies' lingerie. I mean, who do you design it for? For men or for women?
For women.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
A lot of men like it though.
They do?
Yeah.
Do you do much research into what men like in underwear?
Not so much the men, but I guess through the women, yeah.
Yeah.
Whoever's got some LK lingerie, if I know them, they got them for free, so they've got to answer a few questions. How was it fit? Which one did you like? And often they'll say,
All
my
that.
boyfriend liked this one.
Well, what kind of lingerie does Lily like?
Split crotch, black. With the tassel hanging off the bum. Something that's got off easy.
And in fact, what about when you look toward the future? What about acting? Because that's where you started and all said and done.
Yeah, it
So-
creeps into my mind sometimes, and
Might you go back there to acting? Do you think?
I
You
I
found
think
a draw?
I feel that I will one day, not in a hurry. I've learned my lessons to rush in to do something just because it could be fun, or I might learn something, but they're total turkeys.
And the other thing that I read about, which interested me, was that because I love standards, I love sort of that kind of pop music. Was you once said that you might record an album of standards?
I'd love to.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
nice. I mean, look now at them; they're all doing it. Rod Stewart and all those people.
Well, I did a performance in Paris a year ago, actually, for a designer, Chloe. They were having their 50th anniversary, and it was at Café de Flore, which is this wonderful cafe with a lot of history to it. They didn't specify what they wanted me to do, but I just thought in that environment, I'd love to perform some jazz. And I'd never done it before. I didn't really know how I would go, but it was the most liberating experience.
Really?
I loved it. Having done a big tour where everything's activated and there's room to maneuver, but you're pretty much set in what you have to do for those 2 hours every night. This was just 4 tracks. Did Peel Me a Grape, My Baby Just Cares for Me, Fever, and Hey Big Spender. And I had the band all crammed in and Guy with his percussion there, and really it was like surfing because you've got a standard, which I thought of as the wave. So you've got to learn how much you can veer from a standard. But I've got to make the songs mine. I mean, I can't sing the way those greats would have sung the songs, but if you inject it with your personality and flavour, you can do incredible things
When
with it.
you're next to the show, which I hope won't be too long, will you do those for us? Or one of them for us?
I would love
Would
to,
you?
with your band.
Absolutely, with that band. Yeah.
It's a deal.
Is it a deal?
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
You're on. I look forward to that very much indeed. Well, I think we just talked you into another hit record and probably another career as a chanteur.
Less dancing, less movement
That's right,
for my
all
old
right.
age.
Okay, Kylie Mingoue, thank you very much indeed. Kylie Mingoue. Another song from Kylie later on in the programme, but more music now from a young man bursting with talent. He's a pianist, singer, songwriter with, I believe, a huge future. He's at London's Queen Elizabeth Hall this coming Monday. She left the little thing on the...
Oh, that's my tissue.
That's your tissue, there you go. How are you?
I'm all right.
Excellent.
Just got back from Oz.
You enjoy it?
Oh, yes. Well, you know.
Can't
like
say
any-
much other than that. next to me.
Absolutely. Well, you know, I don't take anything for granted. You know, it was
did the-
great and went to New Zealand, and I've been to America before that, promoting Wine in the Blood. So it's a big hit out there. So
Because you own, it's your production company. You own the
That's
show,
right.
don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
You're, you like that kind of control, don't you?
Well, for a long time, I was tied to a network, and you'll not mind me saying this, sometimes I had to pick the best of a bad bunch in scripts, and I was very guilty of doing a lot of stuff that was light and fluffy, you know, A almost to B. Knowing when someone is lying, getting the demographic on the guy, getting the history, and just the childhood and everything like that. But he also came up with this terrifying notion, which is now possibly fact, that we're born angry, we have these terrible genes. Oh,
I
watch
came out punching
I
and
knew it.
kicking.
I mean, one would say, go by the eyes, you know. But it's not. It's
There's an angry gene.
an angry gene, but and it's hence the title
Interesting.
"Wire in the Blood." You
Yeah.
know, it's a term that they use, a kink in the genetic makeup. We spot like destructive behaviour at an early stage.
It's interesting, your job, isn't it? Because when you talk about this guy who observes people and draws conclusions from that and learns lessons, it's really an actor does, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
That's what you watch all the time.
Absolutely. Well, when I met Julian, and he won't mind me saying this, Julian Boone, this is a real cracker. Beautiful, you know, revered Don, but turns up on the bus. Thought it was quite quirky. Has a long coat on, never takes off. So maybe he's just not settled in where he wants to leave all the time, and carried his life in a polythene bag. So I stole all those, and he has this amazing duality, and learnt a lot from them, and understood, and was an avenue into the business. Because a question I'm asked all the time, and I'm sure you guys are, is where did you start? How did you get into this thing? So what Coastal's done, we've created a youth theatre, and we have 200 members. When we announced that we were going to have this youth theatre, nearly 2,000 kids and older people turned up.
You had to
Amazing.
choose 200 from that.
You had to choose 200.
Awful.
So, you know,
Just-
and you get the pushy parent with the kids dressed up in the white dress and the tap shoes. Giving but, no, and, you know, you just spot the gems in that. And it's not a fame school.
No.
It's a confidence-building thing.
Yeah.
And we try and encourage people to be interested in lighting and sound and makeup. And we're very pleased to say that a lot of those kids have gone on to work in, and I don't mean that in a patronising way, but have gone on to work in full-time in the industry and really enjoying it and surviving.
And you have adults there too, don't you?
Yes, we have the live wires.
The live wires.
Over 55s. If you're interested. Yeah. And there's a lovely story, because they do ask me, you know, can you give me any tips on what it's like to do acting, and, you know, can you give me any advice? And the one thing I always say, I can't teach acting. You can't teach anyone to act, I believe. You can't prepare them for this feeling of like a first night in the theatre where you are about to die inside. You've just got to get through that, you know. And this lady was doing a monologue. It was a talking head piece to the audience, and she was doing really well until a water tank above her head burst and just flooded the whole stage. Can't help you with that one, love. You're on your own, kid. But no, I mean, it's important because my mother and father and a lot of people who I respect always said it's very important to invest in people. I think it's a really good thing to do because the rewards, what we have in life, of course, there's financial rewards, investment in anybody, but there are emotional rewards. Because, you know, I'm now looking back on a life, what I'm trying to say here, instead of a career. Yeah, yeah.
But would that kind of disaster, or what's the worst things ever happened to you on stage?
It wasn't, well, I've died many a time on stage, but I played many parts. I played Jesus at York Theatre Royal, and it was a disaster from the word go, but on the opening night, Victor Lewis Smith, I don't know Victor Lewis Smith, Big on the Standard, he was there on the opening night, and his crit went, Robson Green plays Jesus. I don't know what Robson Green was playing at, but it was hard to believe anyone would follow him across the stage, let alone Israel. But what happened that night was I fell off the cross. Yeah, it was... history was changed, yeah. It was all 13th century rhyming couplets, and there's this beautiful, I mean, it was a beautiful script. I just murdered it. But it was there on the cross going, Father, thou what's well I never meant to miss, and word nor work I never were worth this. Well, the thing was, because there was 300 in the cast, the thing was, they kept acting. Saying, is there a doctor in the house? We're losing the scene. So it was an experience.
But going back to that business, that proposition you put of giving people the chance, young people, to fulfill their ambitions. Something that we were talking about earlier on, this idea now of the way to the top is through celebrity, through television, through these pop idols or wherever it might be. And that's a sort of a strange, I think it's a rather sinister development in my view. I mean, it raises false hopes. That's not how you do it. It's a usury, it's interesting. All of you got one thing in common. You all served an apprenticeship. You did, and you did. And the notion that somehow you can short-circuit that is what I think is sinister. And misleading.
But I think we have to be careful because...
Why?
But I think it's a disease. I think reality television is a disease, bottom line. I think stories are the way forward. We always loved stories as a kid, and we can learn from stories. I think what we see in reality television are groups of people in desperate need of approval, wanting to be liked. But bottom line, they are cheap. The cast costs nothing. You know, but programmers will love that because, you know, why it takes, well, it costs about, what, 620,000 an ep to shoot. Now, a programmer can get something for the 10th of the price and get the same advertising revenue. So we have a business dichotomy here. But bottom line, I think people have to be brave enough because I think we're a country that we should pride ourselves on our writers, on our writing. My goodness, this is where Shakespeare's from. Right. And I think we're better than that.
What's your feeling, Kylie, about
I
these
think it's the
pop
same.
idols thing? Yeah, I mean, what do you think?
Well, I have to admit I was addicted to the first series.
I thought
The
it was a good
first one,
format,
I had people tape it for me. And why is someone laughing? Probably because you did as well, right?
It was in it.
And well, now there's so much of it, and to a degree, I find it interesting that it is about people. I find it a bit kind of cringeworthy, but you want to see a bit more.
Yes.
I think, I mean, you know, I mean,
complex.
I've had the pleasure of working with Simon Cowell. I mean, he is an interesting guy.
Well, he
a lot
played
of
a big
people,
part in your life, didn't he? I
yeah,
mean,
it was a massive part
when
of
you
my
were a
life,
pop star.
with the music and
That's
stuff.
right.
Yeah, it was a very interesting time. But the thing about Simon Cowell is the industry takes him very seriously.
Yeah, sure.
He is very good at what he does. He makes millions of pounds for record companies. That's why he's there. The one thing about Pop Idol was, like yourself, I watched the first. I thought the format was very interesting, very entertaining. But now they've killed it, and they're not reinventing themselves, and that's things where the creativity dies. I'm a Celebrity, get me out of here. I mean, John Lyndon was compelling viewing, but the thing is, why people watched that, I thought, was Ant and Dec. I think these guys are incredibly talented. They're lovely to watch,
brilliant.
beautiful relationship. I love them to death. I think they're really talented. But there is this overdose, this dilution of dirge and dumbing down, and it's a dangerous time.
It's also that, and it's also that thing about making a spectacle of people. I feel I back away from that kind of demeaning of people. And people watching and thinking it's funny. I think it's funny to see somebody, you know, be made to eat snails and things. I think it's demeaning.
But it's also, we have to give these people a slap as well, because, you know, what's worrying is people will do anything to be famous.
Oh,
I mean, you know. I mean, they will.
It's always
Look, I
been
mean, I
like
dressed
that.
up as a
I
prostitute
don't know.
for 20 years.
It's one the three way around. Yeah, they're all going.
Well, what you have to say, because it is voluntary in the end. Nobody sort of, you know...
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned there Simon Cowell, and of course, he played a very important part in your life because he introduced you to your missus, and then you had the child, and
right.
you've got this...
No, I stole my missus from him.
You still your missus? Yeah. But I mean, you've got this little boy now, and...
Taylor, yeah.
And is he showing signs of being an actor?
The nativity was interesting. Well, last year I said, "What are you doing? What part are you playing?" He says, "I'm a star." I says, "I know you are." He said, "No, I'm a star."
I'm a star,
He wasn't the star, but he was the star in the sky. But this year he was shepherd number 4. And Joseph's giving his speech, and he starts prodding Joseph, and he's swinging a sheep around his head, and then all of a sudden he goes, "Way! Way!" I was just completely, where's that from? You can see people going, "Oh, he's not right." No, but it's lovely, and, you know, kids surprise you every time, and it's like something I've realized, you know, should have realized, but didn't until you have children, that sometimes we seek happiness in our aspirations, in fame, but actually sometimes it's staring you right in the face.
Yes.
Do you know? And he's a beautiful boy.
Yeah.
I love him to death.
Good. Well, you're 40 now. You're coming up 40.
Thanks very much. Yeah. You're supposed to say, "How old are you?"
No, no.
And then I say, "You guess."
We cut to the chase, don't we?
Not many.
But you know, age is now is a relative thing, isn't it? I mean,
It is, but it's like I remember Billy Connolly being on your show, and you start making these very strange sounds as you get older, as you get up. What you do, it's just like...
that's right.
And you break wind when you run. It's terrible, Kylie. I'm 48, so I've got a daughter of 30.
You have, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Because you rediscovered your daughter in a sense, didn't you?
I did, yeah,
Because,
she's
yes.
just got engaged.
Has she?
Oh, yeah, I'm delighted.
Yeah.
And she's met a really nice, ordinary Liverpool plumber, thank God. You know what I mean? Because Liverpool plumbers make a fortune, as we all know. And he's a really nice lad, and I'm delighted for her. I just said, don't have kids, because I can't bear Grandad in the paper. I mean, imagine... Oh, my
You
God.
don't know what you're missing, I have to
no.
tell you. You don't know what you're missing.
Oh, well, I will. As soon as I see it, I'll nick it off her. So you're not having it back. But it's just being called a Grandad, and that's it, I'm finished then. Grandad.
And just as a final thing with you, Robson, I mean, apart from all else, I did read also, too, that you once upon a time in your career, you had a drag act.
I was young, I needed the money.
That's what I said. Look what happened to me. Ended up in blankety
What were
blank.
the circumstances?
No. I was in a show called Scrap.
Scrap?
Scrap by Sue Fruman, which was about a group of women who ran a scrapyard. And I had to go in the scrapyard and infiltrate their devious plan. And so I dressed up in a blonde wig and everything, and my dad left the theatre and all sorts.
Did he?
Well, you know, he turns
Yeah.
up with his minor friends,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
as soon as Son's on there and they're
Yeah.
dressed like, you can hear the tumbleweed.
Well, I kept me close up with my family for years, never told them. They thought I was still in social services. And then they had my sister going on to London, and I had a booking that night in a pub that I've got to tell her. I said, there's something I've got to tell you, Sheila. She went, what? I said, I work in a pub. She said, oh, behind the bar, love. I said, no, come down, and I'm there in half a yard of leopard skin with the platinum blonde wig, talking about my sex life and whippets and God knows what else. But they loved it. But I was freaked. I can't tell you, I felt like I was naked in Oxford Street. I thought, oh, my, what are they going to think, me Auntie Annie? Oh, no.
Yeah, it's terrible when we think about that.
Yeah. So what's coming up then? So Wine in the Blood, that's...
Wine in the Blood, we just... while I was
week.
in Oz, it was great. We just got the recommission of the 3rd series. And
Excellent.
I start on Monday a show called Christmas Lights. Beautiful story written by Jeff Pope and Bob Mills and myself and Mark Benton about 2 best friends who become enemies because they decorate the house with Christmas lights, and it turns into this Tom Sharp farce. And it's just a divine, life-affirming story.
OK. Well, Robson Green, thank you very much indeed. Robson Green. Well done. Now, Kylie, you've got another number from you.
Another number.
What are you going to do, my love? Tell me what it is.
Love at first sight.
Love at first sight.
So I shall depart.
Would you,
Go on,
Yes.
Kylie Mingoue, your band awaits you? My thanks to Kylie, to Paul O'Grady, to Robson Green and Peter Cincotti. Next week, my guests are Patrick Stewart, Harry Connick Jr. and Lionel Richie. Until then, we say goodbye with Kylie. From all of us here, very good night. Good night.
This is a song you might know called Love at First Sight.